on the program today. Looking forward to revisiting one of the most remarkable nights of basketball in the history of Allen Fieldhouse. I don't feel like that's hyperbole. I don't feel like that's prisoner of the moment. When you're down 15 with 4.5 minutes left, you're not supposed to win. When you're down 5 and a shot is hitting the rim with 6 seconds left, you're really not supposed to win. When your best player asks out of the game with 2:20 to play and then does not play in the overtime, you're not supposed to win. Kansas won last night. Kansas beat TCU last night. In case that is new news, in case you turned it off in frustration and went to bed and for whatever reason are only now just waking up and didn't check a score. So it's probably not new news. But just in case you were so mad at KU's lack of effort on the glass and lack of ability to get a defensive stop, you shut that game off in frustration, and you've gone your whole entire day under the impression that Kansas did not win that game. Kansas won that game. They had a 1.4% win probability with 12 seconds left in regulation, and they won the game. 104-100 in overtime. That is, even given the history of Allen Fieldhouse, even given some of the amazing games, the incredible high stakes, the overtime games, the comebacks, the great triumphs that have been seen on that floor, that one's going to live a long time in the memory last night. So looking forward to getting into that with you folks today, because that was really remarkable. But we have to sort of talk about, was that about KU flipping a switch, or was that about TCU piddling down their legs? Because I think there's a distinction, and there is a difference in the distinction. Also, step in the right direction for KU star Darryn Peterson. A season-high 32 minutes, a season-high 32 points, including the tying free throws with 2 seconds left in regulation. But, as I mentioned, he asked out of the game with 2:20 left to play before coming back in for the final crucial offensive possessions, and then did not play in the overtime. So 32 minutes out of 45, that's pretty good. I think KU would be thrilled if they could get 32 minutes tonight out of Darryn Peterson. The next step now is, which 32 minutes? And that's an interesting balancing act. Also, some thoughts from an NBA draft writer who's really tied into the NBA. Some insight about how Peterson is being viewed still among the NBA organizations who might have an interest in making him one of the top picks in next year's NBA draft. Because I know a lot of the dialogue surrounding Peterson's will he or won't he on any given night this season has been the speculation about holding himself back or making sure he doesn't hurt his draft stock. So we'll talk about whether or not that's really happening. So plenty of college hoops to get to, not just last night's KU win, but we'll look ahead to tonight's game in Tucson as K-State takes aim at the number 1 team in the country. Boy, welcome to Big 12 play, huh, Cats? Number 9 at home, or number 10 at home, number 9 now. And number 1 on the road as your first 2 conference games. There could be a more gentle way to ease into life in the best college basketball conference in America, but not for K-State, not this year. They are big underdogs in Tucson tonight. That is an 8 o'clock scheduled tip at the McHale Center between the Wildcats and the Wildcats, K-State and Arizona. Game will be broadcast nationally on FS1, and of course, you can hear it right here on your home for the Cats, 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Pre-game coverage from the K-State Sports Network coming at 7 o'clock. We'll preview that a little bit. And speaking of K-State, it's a Wednesday on the show, so our guest today is the great Tim Fitzgerald. It's been so long that I almost forgot his name. But it's been so long since we've had Fitz on, I almost forgot the guy's name. But no, Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com going to join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour for the Wildcat Wrap-Up. We will take a look ahead to tonight's K-State men's basketball game. Also talk about the portal happenings for Kansas State football, another wide receiver edition highlighting some of the commitments through the portal that K-State has received so far today in the early days of this transfer portal window. And we'll also talk to Fitz about this broader topic that I want to bring up in the 4 o'clock hour. And I was inspired by my pal, John Kurtz, who some of you may know that name. He did radio in Manhattan for a really long time. Now does a lot of podcasting, K-State podcasting, does some YouTube stuff, does the Big 12 conference newsletter, Open for Business, that I highly recommend subscribing to. It's a good read. And my thought that the Big 12, and I think especially Kansas State in a certain way, is really going to benefit by Texas Tech being the bully on the block. That the Big 12 has now established a pecking order, and Texas Tech is on top of it. And whether you like it or not, and whether you like the way they're doing it or not, they're up here, and they're making everybody else come and get them. And I actually think that's good overall for the Big 12. Not that it's Texas Tech, but that it's somebody. That somebody is throwing a marker down and saying, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to play. Come get us if you want to win the Big 12. It goes through us. I think that's good for the league. And I think it's good for K-State. And I'll explain why a little bit later on in the show. Plus, on the program today, I want to introduce you to my favorite high school basketball player in America. I'm going to tell you the story of my favorite high school basketball player in America, who I got to see play last night and became my favorite high school basketball player in America. I will tell you that story a little bit later on this hour. Plus, our typical Wednesday shenanigans. We'll play One Gotta Go. We got our What Is Wrong With You. We'll do 580 Sports Talk headlines. Lots of transfer portal talk in the headlines. Big Major League Baseball trade might be happening. We'll get to all of that in headlines today on the show. And I want to hear from you as we go along on 580 Sports Talk today. Hit me up on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. That is 785-272-9429. Can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel on YouTube. We are 9 subscribers away from our stretch goal of 900. Who will get us a step closer today? Who are our heroes who are going to smash that subscribe button for us on the YouTube channel today over at 580 Sports Talk and get us closer to that goal? Again, when we get to 900, 580 Sports Talk Idol, live karaoke on the program with your 3 hosts doing their best or their worst, as the case may be, to sing and entertain for you. An all-singing, no-dancing edition of 580 Sports Talk can be yours with 9 more YouTube subscribers. Anyway, if you're watching the show live on YouTube today, we welcome you in and invite you to participate in the live chat. It's a great way to interact with the greater 580 Sports Talk community, or at least the 580 Sports Talk YouTube community, and interact with your hosts as the show goes on as well. So looking forward to hearing from you folks today. A hearty hello to everybody in the live chat. Mark, Andrew, Vance, Ryan already in the chat today. Looks like Christopher's in. Thankfully, with the camels to remind me that it is in fact Hump Day today. Do appreciate that, and appreciate everybody who is in the chat. And look forward to hearing from more of you throughout. KU 104, TCU 100 in overtime last night. And I know how ridiculous I must sound to people who don't know. And I know a lot of people who don't know, who aren't in the know. You know, I'm not from here. I'm not a Kansan by birth like so many of you are. Kansan by the grace of God, right? And that's what I am. So this is all, you know, stuff that I've come across and stuff that I've inherited over my time being around Kansas sports, the sports scene in the Sunflower State. So I know how silly it might sound to my friends or my family or my relatives who are not in this in the way that I am, to say things like, look, man, there are ghosts in Allen Fieldhouse. They are real. And stuff happens in that building. If I had heard that 20 years ago, I'd have rolled my eyes too. But I've been in it. And I've been in that building when stuff has happened. I could not help but think last night, and I'm sure so many of you, whether you were there that night in 2017 or not, I am sure that many of you had the exact same thought process that I did watching KU storm back from that 15-point deficit to win that game in overtime last night. You thought, I'm sure like I did, this is the West Virginia game all over again. You remember that West Virginia game in 2017. I'll never forget it. That was one of my first times at Allen Fieldhouse, if you can believe it. I was there. KU's down 14 at the under 4 timeout. People were leaving the building. That got overstated over time. That part of the story, a little bit overstated. They just happened to show a couple of people leaving, and Dick Vitale on the call, they're leaving! People are leaving! I don't believe it! People are leaving Allen Fieldhouse! That's a terrible Dick Vitale. I apologize for foisting that upon you. One of the first things I do on the show today. My apologies. Anyway, but you remember, if you were watching it on TV, you remember Dick Vitale making a point to point out that people were leaving that game early, and then KU won it. Devontae Graham and Frank Mason just wouldn't let them lose. And West Virginia melted down so badly to the point where even though it was competitive in overtime, it stopped being competitive when Nathan Adrian bobbled that inbound pass out of bounds. That point still sticks in my head as the point where, okay, there's something greater happening here that tangibles can't explain. There's something else at work happening in this building right now. When Nathan Adrian just couldn't catch an inbound pass and bobbled it off his foot and right back out of bounds to turn the ball over. And then last night, Jaden Pierre pulls a Nathan Adrian. A little bit different, but he has trouble with the inbound pass in overtime and turns the ball over to Kansas in a big spot. And I tell you, I pulled out my phone right then and there, and I texted Brendan Dworzinski, our co-host. I texted him 2 words. I texted him Nathan Adrian. That was my immediate thought. It was all the way back to that night in 2017 against West Virginia. And I remember being there that night and seeing a West Virginia team that for 37 minutes had been walking on air, had been playing with immense confidence. And then I saw them lose that poise and that confidence in a matter of seconds. They shrunk. They were inches tall by the end of the game. And I saw a KU team that all night that night had gotten out-muscled, had gotten outworked, and couldn't do a single thing right, start playing perfect two-way basketball. Everything they had to do, they did. And then I saw it again. How often are there sequels for things like that? That was almost a line-for-line reshot of the West Virginia comeback from 2017 last night. TCU was in that behind with a hobnailed boot for 35 minutes of basketball. That was as comprehensive a performance as I think you could have asked for if you were Jamie Dixon. TCU was hammering K-State on the glass, particularly offensively. They had one stretch. They scored on 9 out of 10 possessions. David Punch was out there looking like prime Danny Manning, playing like a first-team All-American. TCU was getting whatever shot they wanted and making whatever shot they wanted, and KU couldn't do a thing. It was a 15-point game with 5 minutes left. That's over. And then it wasn't. And instead of being 0-2 and in crisis going into the rest of the Big 12 schedule, KU's 1-1 with momentum. But here's the thing you got to ask yourself after that last night, after everything that was. Was that more of a KU comeback or a TCU collapse? And sometimes that's a distinction without a difference, but I don't think it is here. Because what happened for KU to get back into the game didn't have a lot to do with the stuff that K-State did, or more accurately, didn't do to dig the 15-point hole in the first place. They were bad for 35 minutes. With the exception of Darryn Peterson scoring the basketball, KU didn't have a whole lot going for them. They weren't shooting it great. They were giving up too many second chance looks. TCU at one point had 20 more field goal attempts than Kansas did. And it wasn't like in the final 5 minutes, all of a sudden, KU's defense became suffocating. Or KU's defensive rebounding became that much better. TCU just peed their pants. They lost their cool. They got sloppy. And even though there were a couple of made threes late to add a little bit of drama to the proceedings, it wasn't really and truly over until Jamari McDowell made those free throws with 11 seconds left or 9 seconds left, however much time it was. But in the overtime, KU had the momentum. Obviously, they had the crowd. They had a size advantage. David Punch couldn't get back on the floor because he was cramping so bad. Darryn Peterson says, see, it's hard to play through cramps. So neither team had the services of who had been their best guy in the overtime session, but that mattered more to TCU because they just don't have that kind of depth. And this is an important point that keeps coming back for Kansas in some of these close games. Kansas knows how to play without their best guy because they've been doing it all year. And when Punch missed those 2 free throws to start overtime, it was 2 free throws. Neither of them were close. When those free throws missed, you knew Kansas was not losing that basketball game. It was not happening. But to me, that felt more about TCU shrinking than it was about KU fixing what had gone wrong for 35 minutes of basketball. Those problems still exist. I don't think this Kansas team is particularly physically tough. I think they are mentally tough, and I think that matters quite a bit. But physically, I do not think they are very tough. Some of that is you're playing young bigs, and Bryson Tiller is still, and you see it in moments like the first 2 Big 12 games this season, that he is still a freshman who didn't play a lot of basketball in the prior calendar year before getting to KU. And you still see times when Flory Badunga doesn't quite play to his size, doesn't quite play to his positional description. It's just not a physically tough basketball team. They're not gritty and grimy on defense. They don't scrap and claw for every rebound. That doesn't seem to be who they are. And it certainly isn't who they've been through the first 2 Big 12 games. And that's an issue. That has to get fixed before you start feeling really good about calling KU a upper crust Big 12 contender and start putting them in the conversation with teams like Arizona, which there might not be anybody in the conversation with Arizona. I'm going to get my first real good look at them tonight playing K-State, but there might not be, the only team that might be in conversation with Arizona in the country this year might be Michigan. And Michigan might be on their own tier, even above Arizona, who might be on their own tier ahead of everybody else. But if you want to put KU in a tier with, like, Iowa State's number 3 in the country, Houston got a big win last night over Tech. Tech's obviously top 20. You want to put KU in that category, they've got to get better on the defensive end against good teams. They've got to rebound better against bigger physical teams. Because they're 0 for 2 in doing those things well in Big 12 play. And it's not just they haven't done them well, they flat defended poorly. They gave up 80-plus points to a UCF team that, I know they snuck into the top 25 this week. Y'all see what they did last night? They lost to Oklahoma State. Kept them out of the 80s. So I do not think that last night's win covers up the warts for Kansas. But it does prove 2 things. 2 things that I think are important for Kansas's ability to compete at the top of the Big 12. Number 1, mentally, they are tough as hell. Mentally, they have a gear that they can get to that allows them to execute in the late stages of a game. That matters. That's a function of leadership. That's a function of coaching. That's a function of having veteran guys who played a lot of college basketball. The second thing that I think matters, those ghosts at Allen Fieldhouse, they're still there. They're still there. We've seen some pretty desultory losses in that building in recent years. Hell, what was it? 3 years ago, TCU went in that building and kicked their ass, beat them by 23, and it should have been worse. I think it was the worst loss of Bill Self's tenure at Allen Fieldhouse in Big 12 play. Last year's loss to Houston, which was like this game last night in reverse. the West Virginia game from 2017 in reverse, where KU hacked up a game they had no business hacking up to Houston, who was a mentally tougher team than last year's Jayhawks. Started to feel like, okay, well, maybe teams are starting to not fear Allen Fieldhouse in the same way that it felt like they feared Allen Fieldhouse during the Big 12 title streak, for instance. That building rattled to life last night. And Bill Self has not been shy about crediting the atmosphere for his team's performance in the past. I remember explicitly another game that was a remarkable one, and one that I happened to be at. It was the Stanford game in 2019, the LeGerald Vick game, where he scored, I think, 36, and KU came back from a double-digit second-half deficit, and they beat Stanford at home. And explicitly, Bill Self referred to that as a building win in the postgame. I don't know that he said those exact words last night, but that was a building win last night. It doesn't cover up the problems that dug the hole for Kansas, but it shows they're mentally tough to dig out of one, and that, as Bill Self did put it in the postgame, as long as there's time on the clock at Allen, you have a chance. More reaction to that game. Want to hear from you from the text line, 785-272-9429, and in the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, or in the comments on Facebook, WIBW News. We'll talk about Darryn Peterson, because even without being great last night, he was great last night. I'll explain what that means and look ahead to the next phase that Kansas has to get to regarding the use of their star, and how his injury, if you're interested, has affected his perception as an NFL draft or an NBA draft prospect. That's coming up. We're going to talk some college football. We got K-State talk coming with Tim Fitzgerald, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. It's a jam-packed show today. Very glad you're along as we get things rolling on this hump day on 580 Sports Talk. Wild one at Allen Fieldhouse last night. We recap it here on 580 Sports Talk. Tyler in the YouTube comments, 580 Sports Talk, says he was there for the KU Oklahoma game that Bill Self said was the loudest at Allen Fieldhouse. It was epic in there that day. Last night, also special. Yeah, it goes up there. Just the second game of the conference season against a TCU team that really isn't that good. TCU, I don't know. I guess I don't really know what to make of them. They lost to New Orleans in non-con play, which, boy, if you think K-State losing to Bowling Green was bad, should go scroll and try to find the privateers in the Ken Palm rankings. They're 217th. It's a good 100 spots lower than the old Bowling Green Falcons. But TCU, who is 50th in the Ken Palm, if you were curious, they also are maybe the only team to play Michigan tough so far. So I guess I don't really know what to make of TCU. They're probably I guess they're decent. Last night they played great. Last night for 35 minutes they were really, really good, and they were a hell of a lot better than Kansas. And then that building roared to life, and Jayhawks started making some threes, and TCU got rattled. There's no other way to put it. That team came apart at the seams in those final minutes. Some other thoughts from the text line, or rather from the YouTube comments. Joe in the YouTube comments says the TCU player passed up a dunk with about 2:30 left. That's when I knew KU would win. Yeah, you could see, you could sense, and you always can. When you see a team that's starting to get a little tight, you see a team that's getting tight, and they do things that were out of character for them and just stop making the plays that they were making without thinking for the first 35, 36 minutes of a game. You saw them completely unravel. And like I said, the two missed free throws by Punch at the beginning of overtime were all I needed to see. That team is done. They want to go home right now. And I credit them in the final minute of overtime. They made a couple of tough threes in, tossing up kind of more in hope than expectation, but they made the shots and they got it down to 2, and they forced Kansas to make those free throws at the end of the game. But they did. Credit Jamari McDowell for knocking those shots down. Speaking of clutch free throws, did anybody else watching on TV last night think that if Darryn Peterson missed any one of those 3 free throws with 2 seconds left in regulation, that a lynch mob was going to form and chase Fran Fraschilla out of Allen Fieldhouse? Because I'm watching the game live. If you were watching on ESPN, you know what I'm talking about. Because Peterson goes to line. Peterson checking into the game just for the final possession. They run the play for him. It takes half an hour to develop because Flory catches all the way across the floor, and Peterson can hardly move, but he gets to take the dribble handoff, and he gets fouled in the act of shooting this 3. And as he's going to the line, Fran Fraschilla says, and I think I'm directly quoting him here, "I just don't see any way he misses these free throws." And I said, "Oh boy, Fran, you better be right. You better be right, or you're going to need a police escort out of Lawrence. People already don't like you," which I think is unfair, by the way. Another conversation for another day. I think people are hard on Fran. Fran, to me, he can be a little over the top sometimes, but I think Fran's over the topness comes from a place of real love and appreciation for college basketball. It's not unlike, honestly, how I feel about Dick Vitale. I think they really love what they do and love the sport. And if they get a little over the top and a little over sentimental or a little silly with it sometimes, so what? It's real. It's authentic. I can appreciate that. I don't mind Fran. I really don't. I know some of y'all, and I've heard from some of you over the years, you don't like Fran. I think Fran's all right. Fran's okay by me. But if Fran had said that out loud, Darryn Peterson, I just don't, there's no way he's going to miss one of these free throws. Where any one of them missing would have meant KU lost. And then he made all 3. And, Fran got to walk out of the building a free man. But back to Darryn Peterson for a second, because he was in for that possession. He had been out for prior possessions. And, man, if it wasn't the most glaring metaphor for Kansas's season and for that game. It felt like that would have been the ultimate metaphor for that game for Kansas and for the season so far for Kansas. They'd have lost that game if they'd have gone to 0-2 in Big 12 play. What a metaphor it would have been with about 2 minutes left, KU trying to rescue a possession, and Marco Jackson throws the ball out ahead to Darryn Peterson, and Peterson doesn't see it because he's telling the bench, hey, I got to come out. I don't feel right. I got to come out. In the time of need, KU did not have Darryn Peterson. In the time of need, KU looked for Darryn Peterson, and he was not there. Like the perfect metaphor for this Kansas team, because I have felt at times watching them, and certainly it felt that way against UCF, that they were waiting for one guy to go and make the play. And that one guy isn't coming. The one guy in the UCF, he didn't come off the bench. And there have been times when Melvin Council has stepped forward, and he's been that guy, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. But it does feel, and I said it on yesterday's show, that KU has been, I said on Monday's show, KU has been hostage to the Darryn Peterson cramp/hamstring saga in some ways. And if they lost that game last night, man, what a perfect metaphor that would have been. Gosh, they're down 9. They're in scramble mode. They need points. The ball is coming to Darryn Peterson, and he is not taking it because he has to come out of the game. And thankfully, Peterson and the Jayhawks wrote a bit of a different script. We didn't see Peterson in the overtime, but he did play 32 of the 40 regulation minutes, and he scored 32 points on 18 shots. He was 13 of 15 from the line. What we are seeing is not the Darryn Peterson we were promised. And I don't just mean like an inability to play the final minutes of a game. I mean the kind of player that Darryn Peterson is when he is at his best. Right now, he is dominating games from the perimeter, which is, pretty awe-inspiring. But the explosiveness, the quick step, the ability to get to the rim against anybody, that's not all the way there. You can tell that it's just not as easy for him to get to the rim. He can still do it, but it's not as easy for him as it is when he is at full strength. And that's the skill that separates Peterson from being a really, really good player to being a top 3 pick in the NBA draft, maybe number 1 pick in the NBA draft. Like that's the separating skill. And so if it ever shows up this year, that will probably also be the thing that takes KU from being a really good basketball team, top 20 basketball team, to a great team, a team that plays deep into March. But, and this is a big but, and I think it is a positive step. It is undeniably a positive step that he played 32 of the 40 regulation minutes. If he plays 32 minutes a night, I think KU will be thrilled. I think that's a good number to shoot for any of your starting players. Sometimes you're going to need to overdrive your starters. God, how many times we see like Frank Mason play 40? Or Hunter Dickinson play 38 as a big man, or Udoka play 38, or Jalen Wilson play 39. You see it. But 32 is a fine number. If you're having to manage a guy through the game, through a season, 32 minutes out of the 40, you'll take it. You will take it. Now you got to figure out which 32 it's going to be. Because if you're going to be in a game that's down to the marrow in those final stages, you want your best guy on the floor. And you have to be able to manage the situation so that if there is some kind of restriction, if it does feel like, man, he's got 30 minutes in him and then he starts to tighten up a little bit, well, you make sure minutes 29, 30, 31 are in crunch time or when the game matters. I don't think Bill Self has managed this great the last 2 games, and I don't necessarily think that's all because he's doing a bad job. I think that's the state of the game. More so managing it poorly than Bill Self doing a poor job. Just against UCF, Self admitted it flat out. He said, look, I couldn't take him out of the game. I wanted to manage his minutes. I couldn't do it. Couldn't take him out of the game. Nobody else played worth a damn. Last night was kind of the same deal. Couldn't really give him a little rest in the fourth quarter when you're getting cooked and when he's the only guy that can score for a stretch. So Peterson's teammates got to do a little bit to take the onus off of Peterson to feel like it can only function when he's on the floor. But the 32 minutes played, a step in the right direction. 32 points just shows you what kind of talent we're talking about here. Like, it is undeniable. Knowing even now what Kansas has been through and the lack of the availability that they have gotten to this point from Darryn Peterson, even knowing all of that, if they knew it right now, they would still go through all of it just to have that talent on your team and the potential to be able to unleash that talent as January turns to February and February turns to March. He's worth it. He's that good. And I thought this was interesting from Sam Vecini, who writes about the NBA draft for The Athletic. Has a lot of NBA connections and put out his big board today, his top 100 draft prospects. He had Peterson at number 3, behind A.J. Dibansa and Cam Boozer. That's where I'd have him. But he wrote this, which I thought was interesting. The NBA teams I've spoken with, I'm quoting directly from the article here. The NBA teams I've spoken with also are not under the impression that there is anything nefarious afoot with Peterson or that he is sitting to preserve his draft stock. So this idea, and I get where it comes from, even if it's unfair, that Peterson's injury management has to do with, I'm trying to make sure I make the real money when I go pro, does not appear to be the understanding of the teams that will have to decide whether or not they want to make a significant financial investment into Darryn Peterson as the future of their NBA franchise. So that to me says, or lends credence to at least the idea that they are really trying to manage a bit of a delicate health situation more than they are trying to manage a delicate NBA situation, which the latter, that's not really forgivable, but the former really is. Can't do anything. But if the body hurts, the body hurts. But 32 minutes in a game, that suggests that progress is being made. And when he's out there, you see why you put up with it. You see why you deal with it. We're going to take a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, I want to tell you about my favorite high school basketball player in America. I encountered him last night. I want to tell you about him when we come back here on 580 Sports Talk. 347 on 580 Sports Talk. Andrew in the YouTube comments talk about that freshman class of college basketball players. Says one of the better ones he can remember. A.J. Dibansa, Cam Boozer, Darryn Peterson at the head of it. If you haven't seen Arizona's Koa Pete yet, maybe stay up and watch him against K-State tonight. Caleb Wilson at North Carolina is really good. The guard, whose name is escaping me, for Houston. Kingston Flemings. He's really good. There's a lot. Yeah, this is a really, really good freshman class in for the high level teams too in college basketball. These guys are playing big minutes and starring roles for teams with championship aspirations, blue blood programs. That's pretty cool to see. So, and we'll get a look at another one of them tonight. Again, as K-State takes on number 1 Arizona, their star freshman Koa Pete. They're more than just Koa Pete, certainly, and Jalen Bradley's having an unbelievable year. But Pete's the freshman headliner for them, no doubt. I'm looking forward to getting a closer look at him tonight. What I've seen, bits and pieces, it's very impressive. But that is coming up tonight, an 8 o'clock tip from Tucson. Coverage again right here from the K-State Sports Network on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Coming up at 7 p.m. with pregame and 8 o'clock with the tip-off. And the game will be broadcast on TV on FS1. So you can turn on TV, you can mute it, and you can turn up wide and stand. I wanted to tell you guys about my favorite high school basketball player in America. I've been doing this. I've been covering high school sports a long time. I've been covering high school sports in the state of Kansas since I moved to Wichita in 2013. And I've covered it in Nebraska, Wyoming, Colorado. I've covered it in this area 2016 to 2020. And then I was out in Western Kansas for a couple of years. I've been back here since 2022. And I've had the good fortune to see a lot of really gifted high school athletes across mostly football and basketball, but obviously a lot of great multi-sport athletes from the highest levels, the biggest classes, 6A, all the way down to 1A Division II. I've covered it all, and been in just about every corner of this state, and seen young men and women playing hard for their schools, for their communities, and I still love it. I still am inspired by it. It's why I'm still doing it. But I don't think I've ever seen a young man who inspired me quite as much as a young man for the Wabaunsee boys basketball team last night. In case you missed it last night, we had 580 Preps Tuesday Night Hoops doubleheader. Care Paravel hosting Wabaunsee. Wabaunsee girls were victorious. They're a top 10 team, number 2, in fact, in the 1A Division I poll. Care Paravel pulled off a big win in the boys game, 54-53, over a Wabaunsee team ranked in the top 5 in the 1A Division I poll. Waubaunsie's good. They lost that game by 1. They rallied. They were down 13 going to the 4th. They rallied. They've got some really good, talented guards. They got scorers. They're well coached. I think that Wabaunsee team is going to be very good this year and a real threat in that Flint Hills League tournament coming up later this month. There's a young man on their team named Karsten Briner, and I want to tell you about him. This summer, Karsten was in a car accident and suffered traumatic injuries to his left leg and foot that required an amputation. And that's something I can't even begin to imagine. Not just the physical pain, but the mental anguish, the grief that must come with losing quite literally a part of yourself. Karsten Briner is the first big off the bench for the Wabaunsee boys basketball team. And if you just watched and you didn't pay much mind, you didn't look real close, and you just watched a possession up and down, you wouldn't know anything was different about the big man for Wabaunsee. He banged bodies in the post, drew a charge last night. He's got a nice little 15-foot jumper that he can get off over a defender. Can guard the rim. He can get up and down the floor. And maybe if you look close, maybe if it's a really high-octane possession, you can notice a little bit of the hitch and the giddy-up. And then you look and you see this kid is doing all of this with a prosthetic leg. An injury he suffered in the summer. And the determination and the courage and the grit and the bravery to say, I'm not letting this stand in my way. I'm going to play. I'm going to do what I love to do. I'm going to play with my guys. I'm going to play my senior year. And He's not just playing. He helps that team. These aren't charity minutes. These aren't, they're going to stand him at the end of the hoop and get him a nice little, consolation basket while everybody cheers for somebody who's gone through so much. No, man, he doesn't want that. He wants sympathy. He's not out there getting pity minutes. He can play. He helps a good team. He helps them win. He helps them compete. He's doing it on one leg, man. Like, I can't even fathom what that young man has been through. And in the span of half a year, and to say, I'm not letting it stand in my way. I'm not letting it deter me. I'm going to go play. I mean, I'm emotional talking about it because I've never seen that before. I've been covering high school athletics in some form or fashion since 2008, and I've never seen anything like that before. And I just have so much respect and admiration for that young man. And I don't know. This is not a job where I get to play favorites. You ask me, who do you think is going to win tonight? I'll never tell you. Hey, Hayden or Topeka High, who do you think is going to win? I'll never tell you because I don't ever want to be seen as picking favorites between schools in this community, players in this community, coaches in this community, all of whom I have a great deal of respect for, good relationships with. I'm never going to stand and pick sides until maybe one day my kid is playing and then I might pick a side. But I'm never going to pick sides. But I'm going to tell you what, I am a Karsten Briner fan. And I hope for the best for that young man and his team. And I just think it's just one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. So if you get out and you see a Wabaunsee High School basketball game this summer or this winter, if you happen to see them, if your school's playing against them or you happen to be in the area, go cheer on that kid. That's the best of humanity, the best of sports. Just not going to be denied. Just awesome. I had to share that with you guys today. That was just awesome. It was awesome. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. Winding down the first of 3 hours of 580 Sports Talk today. Hope you'll stick around for hour number 2. Tim Fitzgerald at GoPowerCat.com will join the program. We'll get Fitz's thoughts on K-State's latest happenings in the transfer portal and look ahead to the men's basketball game against Arizona tonight. Also want to talk about how Kansas State, I think in particular, but everybody in the Big 12 is going to benefit from Texas Tech deciding that they are going to be the team everybody's chasing in the Big 12. Big 12 needed a rabbit, and now they have one. And I think that's good for everybody. And I'll explain why I think it's really good for K-State, too. That's all coming up. Plus, what is wrong with you on 580 Sports Talk? Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is back for hour number 2 on this Wednesday afternoon. I am Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is here as well, and we are delighted to be with you until 6 o'clock tonight here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking the Facebook page, subscribing to the YouTube channel. We've added a subscriber today. Let's see if we can't make it another this hour. If we do one an hour, then we'll get to our stretch goal by, well, let me do the math on this. No, we would. We would get there by the end of the week. If we had one new subscriber every hour of the show between now and the 5 o'clock hour on Friday, we will have gotten to our stretch goal 900 because we are 8 subscribers away. We have 8 more hours of 580 Sports Talk this week. That's how the math works. So if you have not already, go smash that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. 900 is the stretch goal. When we get there, we're doing 580 Sports Talk Idol for you on the program.
I have a bone to pick with you.
With me?
Well, I'm just jealous. I'm so jealous you got Raising Cane's today, man.
Well, some people are preferred, very important customers, and some people aren't. And, you know, I don't control who sits on the other side of that divide.
I almost rolled up there and see if they would give me some.
They would not have given you any. It's soft open for the Raising Cane's today, and I don't want to give too much away, but my wife was on the list, and that meant I was on the list. Sometimes it's who you know.
So
that's the thing about life. It's who you know.
So the real question is, did you take lunch to your wife at work?
Yeah. Okay. We ate lunch together. Yeah, which we ought to do more often because she doesn't work too terribly far from where I work and where we live. So we should do it more often. But we did it today. It was really nice. We enjoyed box combos.
If you didn't do that, you'd be on the
bad
list.
Well, otherwise I wouldn't have known. Like, what was she going to do? Was she going to get it in secret and not tell me? She knows I like that place more than she does.
I just can't believe our very own Brendan Dorzinski, who is the king of Raising Cane's, did not get the invite.
He is that is a big part of his brand.
And it's like a social media. What are you doing, Raising Cane's social media people? You're not looking up people in the area and what you're going to open a brand new location?
All right. Any further promotion will have to be paid for by the people of Raising Cane's. Let's hit our line. Let's build the new chicken finger restaurant in town. Anyhow,
although I don't want to be anywhere near there the next 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, next 2 months.
Opens on Friday.
Tomorrow. It opens tomorrow.
No, it's Friday. It's the 9th.
I just read the news article. It opens tomorrow.
So my understanding was it was the 9th. Anyway, It does not matter. Any further promotion will have to be paid for. Coming up this hour at 580 Sports Talk, we'll do a round of What Is Wrong With You. We've got Tim Fitzgerald joining us at GoPowerCat.com for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Lots to talk about with Fitz. We haven't had Fitz on in a long time. If Fitz, usually, I text our guests day of the show, our recurring guests, just as a courtesy to remind them, hey, in fact, we do have a show today, and we'd like to talk to you. So I do that with Fitz every day. Every Wednesday we have him on. I text him, and I make sure that we're good on the time and all of that. And he always responds with a GIF. You say GIF, right? You don't say GIF like a weirdo. You say GIF, right?
I say GIF.
Okay. I appreciate that you are
the peanut butter is GIF.
Yes. GIF is peanut butter. GIF is the moving image.
Yes.
I appreciate, Spencer, that you're on the right side of history with that one. Anyway, Fitz is always going to respond to me with a GIF. I always know that. And he sent me a GIF today when I reached out. Hey, Fitz, long time no talk. How about you good for today? And he sends me a GIF back, and it was something. It said, "I don't even know who you are anymore." So it's been a long time. Been a long time since we've been graced with the presence of the publisher, GoPowerCat.com, Tim Fitzgerald. He will join us at the bottom of this hour. Still got one got to go. Some K-State hoops talk. Lots of headlines to get to on the show today, and want to hear from you. Text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429 on the text line. Of course, you can interact with us on our video channels. Leave comments on the Facebook stream, WIBW News, or you can interact in the live chat on our YouTube stream if you are watching live on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. lots to follow in the transfer portal. And it can be
so much
dizzying if you don't really sit down and make sure that you've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's when it comes to who's going where. But you get the underlying gist of the big headlines. And one of the big headlines so far in the early days of the transfer portal is that 2025 was not a one-off. Texas Tech is going to spend big again. Texas Tech is going to spend big again, and Texas Tech has spent big on players who are recognizable to Big 12 fans because they were the best players on some other Big 12 teams, like, for instance, former K-State linebacker Austin Romaine, and, for instance, Cincinnati quarterback Brendan Sorsby. Have you heard the number on Sorsby, the NIL number?
I heard what he allegedly rejected from LSU.
So the number is reportedly / allegedly $5 million from Texas Tech.
I heard he allegedly rejected 3.5 from LSU.
So I would, if I had 3.5 in one hand and 5 in the other, I would reject the 3.5 as well. Actually, I'd try to take both, but yeah, it's not how this works. So I'd reject 3.5 if somebody else is offering me 5. I'm not an idiot. I can count. I can do math. I know how numbers work. But anyway, $5 million for Brendan Sorsby. Please stop there for a second. On the one hand, I understand that growth is not linear and that guys get better, especially young players. Guys can go into better situations and improve as players. And look, who among us thought the quarterback from Cal transferring to Indiana was going to end up winning the Heisman Trophy this year, right? Who saw that coming? Who saw the quarterback from Kansas State 2 years ago transferring and leading Ohio State to a national championship? So stuff like this happens in college football. Expect the unexpected and all of that. At the same time, look, I watched a handful of Cincinnati games this season. There was never a point at which I thought, yes, the one quarterback I want more than any in the country, the one quarterback that I want to pay more than any quarterback in the country in NIL, that guy, Brendan Sorsby. And that's not to say he stinks. And we can have a little more nuance than that. But it is startling to me that Tech decided, yes, $5 million for that guy. That's who we want. And look, it may work out really, really well for them. Do I think he's better than Behren Morton? Yes. And they needed to get better than Behren Morton because the fact that they were not better than Behren Morton under center is the reason they didn't win a playoff game, because they had a championship caliber defense and a very, very limited quarterback. The $5 million for Brendan Sorsby. To me, like, you think of the 5-star guys, the other like headline names at quarterback that went to the portal, and we've got some room in headlines to talk about the latest one, DeMond Williams, because that's going to need its own little portion of conversation. Everything that's going on there between Washington and their star quarterback, who signed a contract and then went into the portal anyway, because he also knows how numbers work, is what I'm guessing. And I'm also guessing he has his agents telling him that nothing in that contract he signed is going to go over real well in a court of law if that's how Washington wants to play it. So, again, there's more of a discussion to be had about that.
So?
Oh, yeah. There's no way all that contract stuff holds up. Like, if DeMond Williams sues, he wins. 100%. DeMond Williams sues, he wins. And I don't think Washington wants that, and I think there are a lot of schools that would really like.
Well, if they didn't want that, they wouldn't have said they were going to threaten a lawsuit.
They're threatening him, but they don't want him to call their bluff. That's a little poker analogy for you. You might go all in with a pair of threes. It doesn't mean you want the other people at the table to go all in with you. So we'll talk more about that in headlines. But back to my broader point. Texas Tech is spending big. They're bringing in big talent because it really worked for them. They went from not an also-ran, but also not one of the top-tier programs in the Big 12 to the top-tier program in the Big 12. It wasn't just that they won the Big 12 this last year. They were a lot better than everyone else in the conference. BYU played them twice, couldn't get close to them. And BYU was the only other team that had realistic playoff aspirations in the Big 12 conference, and they couldn't touch Texas Tech. The only conference game Texas Tech lost all season was to Arizona State, and that was a game where Arizona State, crucially, was healthy at quarterback and had Sam Leavitt, and Texas Tech was not, and Will Hammond played. And as much as I didn't think very highly of Baron Morton, it was very obvious in that game why he was the starter and Hammond was the backup. So a healthy, full-strength Texas A&M with their starting quarterback not only did not lose a conference game, they were not really tested in conference play. They were streets ahead of the rest of the conference, and they have already made the early statement of intent in the transfer portal that that is what they plan to be again next year. I think this is really good for the Big 12. My friend John Kurtz, who writes a email newsletter called Open for Business, and also does some YouTube Big 12 conference content, some K-State podcasting. You may be familiar with his name. You may be familiar with his work. He's been on the show.
You've seen him somewhere.
Yeah, friend of the program, John Kurtz. And I saw him at the K-State BYU game on Saturday, basketball game on Saturday. Good guy. Like John a lot. And I read the newsletter twice a week, and you should too. You should go subscribe, get that into your email box. Really good compendium of Big 12 news and notes and opinions if you do follow the conference as a whole. And he had a newsletter, I don't remember if it was earlier this week or if it was toward the end of that last week, where he referred to Texas Tech trying to become the new Oklahoma in the Big 12. And that is to say, essentially, the top dog. Because before Oklahoma left the league, they had won, I think, 14 of the last 24 Big 12 championships. And they had been the program that got into the playoff out of the Big 12. More than once. And the more I thought about that, the more I thought that it's not so much that it's Texas Tech. It could be anybody in this role. Texas Tech uniquely positioned because of where their money and where their one particular sugar daddy booster's money comes from is in the best possible position to make it rain in such a way to build the kind of roster that they've built. But it's good that somebody is going to be the rabbit for the rest of the Big 12 to chase. And I do not think that Texas Tech's financial advantage is a whole lot different from the advantages a program like Oklahoma had for years when they were the rabbit in the Big 12. Because, come on, do you think people were going to Norman, Oklahoma for the scenery? You think kids are committing to Norman, Oklahoma because they just loved Central Oklahoma so much? No, man. They were going because that was the place to go, because that was the place that was going to get them to the pros, and that was the place that was going to take care of them. Wink, wink. This is back when we had to wink, wink about it, right? We don't have to wink, wink about it anymore. But when we had to wink, wink about it, we were wink, winking about Oklahoma. So
no bag man now.
Yeah, the bags are clearly marked. The bags are on top of the table. They are not under the table. So I don't necessarily think that that's a significant difference in terms of a financial advantage. So Tech being the lead dog in the Big 12, I think it's a positive for two reasons. Number one, the way Texas Tech won the Big 12 and the way they built their team now sets the blueprint for what Big 12 football is going to be and how you've got to win in the league. You have to be good in the trenches, and you have to spend the money to be good in the trenches. That is the entry fee to pay to get into the ring against the big dogs in the Big 12. You got to be nasty up front, offensive line and defensive line. You have got to have dogs on your front five on offense, and on your front four, your front three on defense. That is how Texas Tech built a conference champion and a no doubt, no BS playoff team. If that's going to be what the lead dog does, that's what everybody else has to do too. Because that's the way it works, right? Like, if you are in a league and the champion does something, every league is at its heart a copycat league. You go and you do what the successful teams are doing. Well, who were the successful teams in the Big 12 this week, this past season? Texas Tech, best defensive line maybe in America, and a really, really good offensive line that they got through the portal. Who else? BYU, traditionally very good in the trenches. Utah, traditionally incredible in the trenches. Pro tackles on both sides of their offensive lines. This is the new Big 12 football. Your older brother's Big 12 with all of the quarterbacks and all of the offense and Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield putting up 60 points a game, that's done. You win in the new Big 12 by being nasty up front, by being great in the trenches. So now there's a blueprint for everybody else to follow. Those are the kinds of players you have to go get. Those are the kinds of players that you have to spend your NIL money on. Even if your NIL money pales in comparison to Cody Campbell's money at Texas Tech, you still have to go get those guys. You have to get the ones you can afford, and you have to coach them up if you can't afford the big dogs that Texas Tech could afford. Because that's your only choice. That's your only realistic option. Because your other choice is you complain about it and you cry about Texas Tech's advantages, and then you get your butt kicked. You either get to complain and lose, or you do what you can with what you have. But at the end of the day, if you want to win football games, and that is everybody's goal, you got to do what the big dogs are doing. And if Texas Tech can trace their success to their excellence in the trenches, that's what everybody else has to do in the Big 12. That's why I think it's good for the rest of the conference. Here's why specifically I think that's good for Kansas State. Because I think for a lot of years that was Kansas State's identity too. I think Kansas State has always prided itself on being good up front, churning out pro offensive linemen, pro defensive linemen. That's a big part of Kansas State's identity, toughness, physicality over the years. I think Kansas State got away from that. I think a few programs, when the Big 12 formed and became what it is now, with the 16 programs that are a part of it now going into the third year of the configuration of the league being like this, there was this power vacuum at the top of the league, and a lot of programs with traditional success who felt like, we can seize the power in this league. We can be the new Oklahoma. Why can't it be us? How do you do it? Well, let's go get the best talent we can. And I think Kansas State lost a bit of its identity over the last couple of years in the pursuit of simply raising the talent level on the roster, chasing the star rating rather than trying to find the guy who was the right fit for the program and the right fit for the culture. I think the culture that ended up creating is what burned Chris Kleiman out and led to his retirement. And I think what Colin Klein and his new staff are doing at Kansas State is embracing the identity of Kansas State football, the new old school, the family business, the physicality, the mob mentality on defense, all of these things, a real identity that I don't think Kansas State had the last couple of seasons when they failed to meet their expectations. And I think that the identity that best suits Kansas State happens to be an identity that will best lead to competing at the top of the Big 12. The question for Kansas State is, do they have the money? Do they have the financial wherewithal? And the answer to that is probably, well, not like Texas Tech. Like, they're just not going to be able to, they're not going to sign a $5 million quarterback, right? Like, that's the kind of financial outlay that Kansas State probably isn't going to be able to do. Whereas Kansas is a little bit different. Kansas got that David Booth money, and they're going to be ready to use that to fortify their roster. And we've seen them make some really quality additions, especially on the defensive line, to start the transfer portal this year. They've got some other needs they need to meet too. They had to go get multiple running backs. They got to get multiple linebackers. They got a lot of holes to fill. But you see them targeting the trenches as well. They might be better positioned financially, at least in the short term, than Kansas State is. But both programs have now a rabbit to chase and an idea of what it's going to take to be really, really good in Big 12 football in the short-term future, because Texas Tech is showing the way. And for Kansas State in particular, I think that best suits what's long been the identity of their program.
Yeah, and I think when you go back to like what schools have. Kansas State doesn't really have like the David Booth, or what has just come out is now former Mavericks owner Mark Cuban is cutting big checks this year for Indiana.
Yeah, they're not a Mark Cuban in the alumni roles at Kansas State,
which means you got to find a group of alumni that are successful in something and just.
Yeah, the small money donors are small money being relative here. I'm not talking about like the $5 here, $10. I'm talking about like the car dealership owners who might have been willing to cut those. Like, back in the day, you remember what the dollar figure for Cam Newton at Auburn was, allegedly, the wink, wink ongoing investigation. Do you remember the dollar value for Cam Newton? $200,000. $200,000 bought Cam Newton for a year at Auburn. It bought him a national championship. Whoever dropped that bag, that's the best $200,000 they ever spent.
Oh, yeah. They're reaping the benefits.
Brendan Sorsby got $5 million. So obviously we're talking about different levels of finances right now. And that's not the kind of thing that the owner of, Jim Smith's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, who's a lifelong backer of K-State athletics. I'm making this up, but you get the idea. Like the car dealership, the HVAC guy who supports Kansas State athletics, got an HVAC empire in the Flint Hills, is not going to be able to write the check to bring the game-changing talent to Manhattan. It's going to take a village, especially with a program like Kansas State. And I think they understand that. But I also think they have a better vision for the kind of talent that's going to get them back to where they want to be. And we have a texter from the 785 and Mark B in the YouTube comments making very similar points. The ideas of, targeting toughness and work ethic and discipline instead of just targeting the talent. And a texter points out that at the end of the first Snyder era, it felt like they prioritized the talent over some of those intangible values that were really important. You need stars. Stars do matter, but identity matters too. Texas Tech forged an identity and put their money behind it. And look what it did for them. But I think that them having done that lifts all the rest of the boats of the Big 12, too. We got to take a timeout. We'll come back with What Is Wrong With You. Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com joins us as well. You're listening to 580 Sports Talk. It's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. We got two news stories today competing to try and take down our current weekly champion, the U.S. Postal Service driver who thought the kid was stealing a package off of a front step when in reality the driver had delivered the package to the wrong address, and this 10-year-old kid was just trying to take it to the proper address. That didn't matter to the Postal Service driver. He tried to run him over in his truck, hurt the kid, and then stole his scooter. So that's our current weekly champion. It's going to be a tough one to dethrone, I think. But our pal Grady Judd from Polk County, Florida, is going to give it a try today. We're going to Florida, where a man landed behind bars after Polk County deputies say he had a gun hidden under prosthetic silicone breasts while he was trespassing at a construction site. 39-year-old Matthew Zaccarino of Altamonte Springs was sitting in a vehicle by himself at a construction site last month. When deputies approached him, they said he was wearing a red lace bra with prosthetic silicone breasts. Plain little dress up. More detail from Grady Judd. You can decide if it's necessary. Quote, then we notice he's wearing a G-string, showing off the boys. You know what I mean? End of quote. Yeah, Grady, I think we do know what you mean. Judd went on to explain that it's hard to know how dangerous these situations are because under the prosthesis, deputies found a gun. The sheriff said Zaccarino claimed he was going to a costume party, but when deputies asked where the party was, he stopped talking. More from Sheriff Judd. Quote, can you imagine? He's mad at us for trying to find out why he's wearing lace bras with guns and G-strings or G-somethings. It was ugly. It was so ugly. End of quote. On the one hand, man, it's none of your business why he's wearing a fake breasts and a G-string. None of your business. Leave that man alone. On the flip side, maybe it's a good thing they were being so invasive because he did have a gun. He was where he wasn't supposed to be, and he was charged with armed trespassing with a firearm, loitering or prowling, and resisting an officer without violence. So, understand why it would arouse suspicion. Just chilling in your car at a construction site. Huh, he's not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
Huh. Fake boobs, huh? Interesting. Oh, I didn't want to see that when I woke up in the morning. So that's our story. A gentleman showing off the boys. What do you got today, Spencer?
I got to tread lightly on this story. A New York advertising executive was arrested for urinating upon several victims from a rooftop bar. He was actually sentenced to community service and prohibited from using alcohol or mind-altering substance.
So he peed on people off the side of a building. He only got community service?
Yes.
Absolutely not. Prison.
A slap on the wrist for what they call the shower
Prison.
of gold.
Hard time.
Yes.
Solitary. Continue.
A judge has approved a pretrial intervention agreement between Matthew Day, who's 30, and the state attorney's office in connection with the accused man's 1:30 a.m. aerial assault at a St. Petersburg, Florida night spot. Day, seen in this picture, what looks like a normal accounting or advertising, normal 9-to-5 office guy. He was arrested in July for disorderly conduct at the landing, which advertises itself as an elevated hangout balcony bar.
Oh, so he took it too literally.
Yeah. Police allege that Day entered the rooftop bar, pulled his junk out of his shorts, urinated from the balcony onto the sidewalk. Downstream, several passersby were struck with his pee. Cops reported that they showed an indication of alcohol influence when he was doing that. As part of the pretrial agreement, he has accepted responsibility for the misdemeanor crime and will perform 50 hours of community service, undergo alcohol evaluation and counseling, and pay supervision and prosecution fees. Day, who was scheduled for a court status conference, is barred from bars and clubs during the arraignment agreement's 6-month term. According to his LinkedIn profile, he's a Penn State graduate who co-founded Ribeye Media. Peeing off a balcony, and is the firm's head of client success. The New York ad tech company.
That's a fake job. Get out of here. You're not the head of client success for Ribeye Media. Somebody walked up to me and introduced himself as, yes, hi, I'm the head of client success for Ribeye Media. Like, you made that up. That is something a child would say.
So his LinkedIn was found, and now his name is Matthew Day. You can now only find him on LinkedIn as Matthew D.
Yeah, and he probably should have put that away too. Wow. So yeah, not a big fan of this guy. Like,
No.
like 1:30 at night. Just that's horrible. I don't like either of these stories. We're gonna vote for this guy today because I mean that's obviously the worst thing to do. But I'm gonna
and only getting a slap on the wrist for it.
Yeah,
too?
I'm a little outraged at that. I feel like the legal system failed the people who got peed on by unwillingly by this guy. Justice for those who were micturated upon. Anyway, I'm going to still stay though with the postal worker. Try to run over a child with his run. I don't care. Run over anybody. It'd be a stupid story if he tried to run over a 25-year-old able-bodied adult. He tried to run over a kid, thinking he was stealing a package. Ridiculous. That's going to continue on as our champion on What Is Wrong With You. We'll take a break. We'll come back with Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com next for the Wildcat Wrap-Up on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Flaming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the great Tim Fitzgerald to GoPowerCat.com for the first time here in 2026. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. You can check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. Fitz and the team cover the Cats at GoPowerCat.com. Fitz, how's 2026 treating you so far?
It kind of feels the same as 25, but I'm told it's not. It's going to be a whole new year. I guess we do this all the time. I'm not sure.
How late is too late to wish someone a happy new year? When's the cutoff?
December.
Is it?
I'm just going to be safe in my answer. There's no way anyone's going to argue with that.
We're not here to argue. We're not here to be controversial. I'm just saying, when's the latest you've ever told somebody, hey, Happy New Year?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I spent a lot of my life with drinks in me. I could have done that every March as far as I know. I'm not sure. But I would say 2 weeks into January would be my sober deadline for that.
All right. That I think that's entirely reasonable. And within the deadline, Happy New Year, Fitz.
Happy New Year.
Good to have you on the program
Is that
today.
what that was about?
No, not necessarily. It became what it was about as we went along. No, we're going to talk some K-State athletics here. There's plenty to talk about, particularly with regards to the transfer portal. The big name today that has committed to Kansas State, Missouri wide receiver Joshua Manning, who was a previous K-State commit before decommitting, ending up at Mizzou. He played there the last couple of years. What are the Wildcats getting in Joshua Manning?
A potentially good receiver. I mean, he's got, let me see here, 510 yards. He played significant minutes the last 2 years at receiver. Only 42 catches over that time. This was a top priority for K-State fans in the Avery Johnson recruiting class. He was the complement on the incoming class of Avery Johnson that became Jace Brown. But this was the guy I think everyone expected to be his go-to guy. Hasn't had things pan out as well as he wanted at Missouri. Has played. He's not a bench warmer. And sometimes starting over can give you new life. But I caution K-Staters. The shine on this recruit isn't as bright as it was when he was unknown coming out of Lee Summit High School. He's a little bit more known now. Maybe he'll be highly productive for K-State, but he just hasn't shown that yet in his career.
What have you been most pleased with? If there's a player or a position group that K-State has addressed to this point, where do you think they've done the best job so far in the portal? What's been the best bit of portal news for Kansas State?
That's a good point. I think they're bolstering offensive weapon depth really well. They seem to be focusing on adding running backs to go with Joe Jackson, who just announced he will be back. And of course, they're bolstering the receivers. I think they still need a splash receiver. I know K-Staters might view Manning as the splash, but productivity-wise, not really that much. So I think K-State's still working on some guys out there, and that'll be a very interesting process.
Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, is joining us. This is the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors here on 580 Sports Talk. Wanted to ask you about the virtual completion now of the coaching staff. When we last spoke before the turn of the new year, the coaching staff was just starting to get filled out. Now it is most of the way filled out. The most recent bit of news on that, Brian LePack is going to hang around and coach the tight ends after he coached the offensive line last year. How big a deal was it, you think, to retain LePack on the staff? I know he was really highly regarded, and the outgoing staff really thought highly of him. How important was it to keep him around in Manhattan?
I think very important. And I think it was a priority of Colin Klein. He sat in the press box with LePack 2 years in a row. He was the guy at his right hand. And I remember him talking in a media opportunity about how much he learns from Colin, about how to construct plays in terms of, we're going to run this now, that later, how you string things together and set things up to a game. And I think Colin Klein thinks his upside is absolutely enormous, but not as an offensive line coach. Interestingly enough, Colin has not named his OC yet, so we'll find out what his plan is on that. But I think this is a guy that, if needed, could be the OC with Colin calling the vast majority of the plays. Someone that kind of implements the game plan that Colin comes up with and works with the players on a day-to-day basis. But when the game rolls around, he and Colin share those duties. We'll find out what Colin does. But Brian LePack is a highly intelligent, very promising young football coach who I believe is one of the coaches out of Chris Kleiman's staff who will be a head coach someday.
Who, in your mind, has been the most intriguing addition to Colin Klein's staff based on background, experience, position group? Who do you look at on this new coaching staff and think, wow, I'm really fascinated by what he could potentially bring to the staff at Kansas State?
It's got to be Darryn Peterson, the defensive coordinator. I mean, he's a young star on the defense side of the football. Colin worked with him. He's seen him. If the guy was at all not up to it, there's no way he'd be hired right now. Colin's worked with him, and that tells me this guy's pretty sharp, and he's got it together. He's a fairly young guy, and he's going to be running that defense. When your head coach is an offensive guy, that defensive coordinator has a lot of latitude, because that's what Bill Snyder did for many years. So this defense will belong to Darryn Peterson, and he is a very bright mind. We'll see if he can do it now, calling the defensive sets, because that's what he's going to have to do.
Want to ask you about a couple of prominent K-State transfers and their new landing spots. Austin Romaine obviously ending up at Texas Tech. Tobias Insomni's headed to Indiana. And just recently, Jace Brown announcing that he will play at LSU next year. How do you see the fits for those three? Do you think that those three are going to find what they were looking for in departing Kansas State in their new landing spots?
I missed the Jason. Does that just happen?
That's
yeah.
That's been the that's been out there, I think.
Okay. Well, shows what I'm
so
wrapped up in who's incoming. I'm missing stuff.
Yeah. That's all good. Yeah, it's not like week old news, Fitz.
About a one day.
I love Jace as a receiver. I mean, he's a stud. He's a strong-willed young man. He likes, he makes sure everyone knows he needs to get the ball. And he's right. He's right about that. We'll see how he does in an LSU locker room where everyone thinks they're a superstar. And it's going to be very interesting. I hope he thrives. I really do, because I think he can definitely help the team. And if, LSU's where he's going to be, I'm going to keep an eye on LSU because I've always enjoyed watching him play. Now, we'll find out how he fits in with everyone, how it's handled. He had a best friend that was the starting quarterback at his previous institution, and that helped calm things down. And we'll see how his style, might I say, is greeted by that locker room in Baton Rouge.
Our guest is Tim Fitzgerald, GoPowerCat.com, joining us here on the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's pivot to basketball. I was at Bramlage on Saturday for K-State and BYU, and K-State lost their conference opener to the then 10th-ranked team in the country. I didn't feel like it was a discouraging outing from Kansas State in the sense that they didn't look competitive. They were competitive. They just seem to have a problem where their best offensive lineups can't really defend, and their best defensive lineups have trouble scoring. And I'm not sure what Jerome Tang can do to fix that beyond some guys getting better either defensively or offensively. Real quick.
Yeah. You nailed the problem right there. Is they've got some guys who are really effective on offense and suck at defense. And they've got some guys that can play some defense that probably don't bring enough other stuff to the court. Probably the one guy that does both really well is Nate Johnson, but he can't do it alone. I mean, there's so much defense that depends on a team. People aren't picking up his guy or helping out. It's just impossible. But, I think this team has to just get better defensively with the guys that can score. And you know what? If you're way up, then pull some guys off the bench to slow down the other team. If someone gets hot, put someone in that stop someone. But this team, I'll say this way, and I've said this before: you can make offensive players better defensive players, but it's really difficult to make good defensive players better on the offensive end unless it's some kind of backdoor cuts, lay-in type offense. They're just not going to be productive on that end. So I think he's just riding the wave, trying to get him to defend better. And I didn't think they were horrible against BYU. I thought BYU had an off night, to be real honest. But how much of that was K-State's doing? Just as K-State's three-point shooting was a product of BYU's defense. So we'll find out. They're going to get probably the toughest test you could get right now in college basketball tonight. I expect them to get smoked pretty good. To be real honest, Arizona is very impressive. But if they don't, I think that's a pretty good sign. And all I know is on Saturday when they go to Tempe, they got to win that one. Unless they win this one, I'm not writing that off, but they got to leave Arizona with a 1-2 record in the conference.
You said it, Fitz. Arizona's awesome. Right now, I think it's them and Michigan, and then it's everyone else in major college basketball. And I think even Michigan might even be ahead of Arizona, but that's another topic for another day. But Arizona's exceptional. They seem to have all of the pieces. It's always been hard to play in Tucson. There's a reason that K-State is such a significant underdog in this game. I won't even say a win, but what does a competitive effort for K-State look like tonight? What are the things that they have to do to leave Tucson with some confidence and not feeling like, oh boy, we just can't compete with the upper crust of this league?
They got absolutely destroyed with second chance points and rebounding against BYU. That was the difference in the game. If they took that away from BYU, the 3-point shooting wouldn't have mattered one bit. So that's the problem this team has. There's so many little things they have to attend to that they're kind of forgetting the big things, which is hitting shots. So I think they can do a good job here if they close out. Don't give them second chance points and attack the rim. Be the aggressor, and that's hard to imagine K-State right now. But if they can be the aggressor on both ends of the floor, they'll tighten this game up pretty good.
Who individually has to play, aside from PJ Haggerty, he's their best guy, has to be good every night. Who individually do you think is most important for Kansas State tonight?
Well, I mean, without getting into matchups, it's got to be Nate Johnson. He's really a potent weapon on the offensive end of the floor, but he's not been that way for a few games now. And I think he's so focused on defense, he forgot his offense. Once he links those two together, he's going to be a really, really good player. We've seen flashes of great offense and some flashes of great defense. When he links those together, he's going to help take K-State to another level. But I think one of those steps would be taking the pressure off him defensively, where he doesn't have to do everything. So I think once the whole defensive philosophy starts to settle in a little bit better, if it does, then that will free up Nate Johnson.
Tim Fitzgerald and the staff at GoPowerCat.com cover the Cats from tip to tail, and you can find their coverage on the 24/7 Sports Network. Become a VIP subscriber today to make sure you have all of the inside information. Fitz joins us every Wednesday for the Wildcat Wrap-Up, sponsored by Tallgrass Windows and Doors, who provide high-quality products at affordable prices. Check out their showrooms in either Wamego or Lawrence, or visit them online at tallgrasswindows.com. Excellence without exception. That's Tallgrass Windows and Doors. And that is also Tim Fitzgerald. Great to talk to you, Fitz. Happy New Year. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you, brother. Don't say that to me next week.
I will not. I promise. It'll be the 14th. It's 2 weeks. I get to do it next week. Thanks, Fitz. That is Tim Fitzgerald of GoPowerCat.com. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. .456 on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to Tim Fitzgerald for joining us from GoPowerCat.com. We got K-State basketball tonight right here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. 7 o'clock pregame, 8 o'clock the tip from the McHale Center. We'll talk more about it in the 5 o'clock hour. Also in the 5 o'clock hour, we're going to play a little One Gotta Go, and we're going to get to some headlines as well, including Travis Kelce's latest comments on will he or won't he. Interview schedule for Matt Nagy. Portal happenings for both KU and K-State, and a lot of the other national news as well, including that bizarre transfer portal saga unfolding in Seattle with regards to Washington quarterback Damon Williams. We'll get into all of that coming up in this next hour of the program. A reminder, the text line is open, 785-272-9429. You can also interact if you are watching the show live on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Hop into that live chat during the program from 3 to 6 Central every day. We stream the show, and you can jump in the live chat, interact with your fellow listeners. It's a cool thing to do, and not just because I say so. I think it's neat. Anyway, you can interact with your fellow listeners, grow that 580 Sports Talk community, and also you can interact with your hosts as we go along on the program. A reminder, Washburn basketball coming up at 5:15, pregame coverage over on our sister station, the home of the Ichabods, Country 106.9, Brendan Dworzinski in St. Joe, Missouri. Washburn taking on Missouri Western, men's and women's MIAA basketball this evening as well. We'll keep an eye on that, too, in the final hour of 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Wednesday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis hanging out with you here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video streaming channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, and WIBW News on Facebook. Thanks for being with us on this hump day. We are with you until 6 o'clock. K-State men's basketball, 7 p.m. pregame, 8 o'clock tip-off from the McHale Center in Tucson against number 1 Arizona. See if K-State can shock the nation tonight. You'll hear that game right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. If you're looking for the K-State women as they take on Houston tonight, don't know why the conference stacked so many games this year where the men and the women play on the same night. And at roughly the same times. I don't recall this happening at all last year, but happens quite a bit, at least for K-State this year. And I noticed it for K-State because we got to schedule the broadcast. So if you're looking for the K-State women tonight, they play Houston. That game is a 6:30 tip-off, 6 o'clock pregame. You can catch that over on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country, if you are looking for the broadcast of K-State women's basketball tonight. If you're looking for Washburn basketball, boy, we got all the bases covered tonight.
We've got all the basketball you can want to listen to
all
tonight.
the basketball you can stomach. We got Washburn Ichabod Hoops over on the home of the Ichabods, Country 106.9. Brendan Wrzezinski getting set to go live from St. Joe, Missouri, as Washburn takes on Missouri Western. Ichabod women looking to stay hot. Number 1 Ichabod men looking to remain unbeaten and at the top of the Division II heap. That's coming up tonight. Lots of basketball on the Connoisseur Media Topeka family of stations this evening. We'll get in a little more to that K-State game. We'll give our own thoughts about what Kansas State's going to have to do to keep it competitive tonight, because there's but so much optimism you can muster regarding the possibility of an upset when the betting line is 17.5 points. And that's actually come back to Kansas State a little bit because they opened at 20.5, plus 20.5. They are now at plus 17.5 against the number 1 team in America. And they are not number 1 by accident. They are number 2 in the Ken Pom behind only Michigan. And they're really freaking good. I have not seen a lot of Arizona this year. I really haven't gotten like deep into college basketball yet this year. Usually that starts to happen around January. We'll have a little more time this year because, no Chiefs. But this is about the time of year I really start to watch a lot more college basketball. So I haven't gotten to see a ton of Arizona yet. So I'm looking forward to watching them tonight against Kansas State. We're going to verify just, in fact, how good they are. Just to give you an idea, there are only 3 teams in America that have, according to Ken Pom, top 10 offense, top 10 defense. They are one of them. They are 8th in offense, 4th in defense. Michigan is 10th in offense, 1st in defense. Iowa State is 5th in offense and 5th in defense, as if you needed further proof that indeed the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in America. K-State opened with the 9th ranked team in the country. Now they play the number 1 ranked team in the country. And what that all boils down to, as Tim Fitzgerald laid it out for us last hour, K-State better beat Arizona State on Saturday, because 0-2 is understandable given the way the schedule shook out. She'll only be 0-3 in conference play. That's something K-State can't afford. They got to come home with something from this Arizona swing. That starts tonight against the number 1 Arizona Wildcats. So
shout out to our 893rd subscriber.
We did add another subscriber last hour. Perfect. So now we got to add one this hour, and we're on pace.
We got to be on pace.
One more subscriber this hour. Who's our hero? I know you're out there. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We add 1 an hour the rest of the week. Then by the end of Friday, we will be at 900 subscribers, and then we will piece together our plan for what 580 Sports Talk Idol is going to look like.
So the sooner you get us to it, the sooner we do 580 Sports Talk
The
Idol.
sooner we sing for you. We dust off the golden pipes for different purposes
And
for singing purposes.
And Dan somehow
Are you a big,
plays My Maria. Sings My Maria.
Not somehow. I'm gonna sing it. I just know that's my fate. I'm resigned to it. You ever do a big like karaoke guy? You go out with your buddies, you do karaoke?
Yes.
Okay.
Got a couple songs in there.
I am loath to sing in person.
All my exes live in Texas. We did that in college a bunch.
I have never done karaoke.
I did karaoke with my buddy that's in the military doing training when I went to see him last year in Oklahoma.
Okay.
We did Country Roads.
I could see that.
Yeah.
It
was not very good. I went back and heard it.
Here's the real question. How often have you done it dry? Let's say. Because
maybe when I was a kid. Oh, I know. At my last place of work. Actually, no, I did have a drink. I had an adult soda.
Okay, yeah,
but not very much of an. I had an adult soda. At my last place of work, our holiday party was at my old boss's house.
Okay,
and they had one of those, fancy whole karaoke sets where it's got the whole screen for you and everything. And yeah, I did that.
It's very brave of you to have any kind of alcohol at your boss's crib. I don't know that I would do that, but
well, everybody else was drinking, so
sure. No, I get it.
If everybody else is drinking, that means the youngest can drink.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Anyhow, so that's coming up. I have never done karaoke. I don't like standing.
Not once.
Not once.
Not even with some adult sodas.
No, not even with those in me. I don't like the idea. I like radio because I don't have to perform to an audience I can see. Karaoke, even if there's only 7 people at the bar, they can all see me, man. I don't need that. But I've been to bars where they do karaoke night. My buddies have done it. And this is 100% true. I have never in my life been to a place that was doing karaoke where somebody did not attempt Copperhead Road. Never in my life. Every time. And
that's a tough one too.
Yeah, it's long. It's not that good. Apologies to all our Dave and Allen co-heads out there, but no, Copperhead Road, bad song. Don't like it. Don't care for it. But yeah, every time I've been to a karaoke night, somebody has tried their hand at Copperhead Road. It is inevitable. It is like the tides. Text from the 7-8.
Copperhead Road, Steve Earle.
Was that Steve Earle? Or was it David? Who am I? Oh, I'm thinking of a different song by David Allen Coe. That's a karaoke favorite. You're right. Copperhead Road is Steve Earle, who I like, but I don't like Copperhead Road. Great on the wire, Steve Earle. Anyway, texter from the 785 has landed on what we decided the conceit of this is going to be. The listeners are going to pick the songs. That's what's going to happen, is we're going to solicit songs from our listeners on the text line, in the YouTube comments. Again, the text line, 785-272-9429. I just know that the listeners, because we've known each other long enough, we've been on the listener and host side of this relationship long enough now. I know what y'all are going to make me sing. so I'm under no illusions about what y'all are going to make me sing. Anyway, let's get to some headlines, because we got quite a few of these to get to. We're going to play One Gotta Go. We're going to talk some K-State hoops. Again, text lines open, 785-272-9429. And also on the YouTube comments. Text from the 785 asks me, what's the difference between a live audience looking at me and the YouTube audience looking at me? I can't see who's looking at me on YouTube. That is literally the difference. That is how my brain, that is how that particular part of my anxiety works.
You don't envision Vance sitting there at his desk watching us?
I don't. No, I'm just talking. Even though I know people can watch us on the YouTube, I'm not even really conscious of that. I mean, I am to the extent where, like, I'll wave at the camera, I'll mug for the camera sometimes, but for the most part, doing a radio show, I'm just talking to the listener, or I'm talking to you, or I'm talking to you and Brendan. Like, it's just a conversation. That's a different kind of performance than getting up and like trying to sing. Anyhow, let's get to headlines. Let's start. This is how big a star Travis Kelce is, by the way. You talk about the level of fame that Travis Kelce has achieved in his life. His latest comments in the New Heights podcast from today aggregated, and if you go and you Google them, the top result is People Magazine. I don't think there's a lot of NFL players who have like their own tab on People magazine. Travis Kelce might be the one of one.
Especially in the year 2026. There's going to be a lot of Travis Kelce in People magazine in the year 2026.
Yes. Probably some exclusive photos, the whole thing. Anyhow, Travis Kelce made his first podcast remarks since the end of his 13th NFL season and said, quote, I think, just being a regular human for a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, trying to figure out what I'm going to do next in terms of my future in football. And I think, I've talked to a few people in the facility already, having the exit meetings and everything, and they know where I stand, at least right now. Travis admitted that even though he still has a lot of love for the game, the retirement decision is a tough thing to navigate. I'm having to paraphrase because Travis is a little loose with the profanity on the New Heights podcast. There's a reason sometimes we don't just play directly from the podcast. We have to have time to edit it, and sometimes we don't. So we play it safe and we just quote from the transcript. Anyway, another quote from Travis Kelce, quote, at the same time, if my body can heal up and rest up and I can feel confident that I can go out there and give it another 18, 20, 21 week run, I think I would do it in a heartbeat. So that's where Travis Kelce stands right now. And that is the first time I've ever thought that he sounded like somebody who wanted to come back and play more football.
Yeah, that's what I got from that.
Like, that's the first time I've listened to Travis Kelce, heard the words come out of his mouth and thought, that doesn't sound like somebody who's ready to be done. Because, again, this is the stuff you lose sight of when a football player becomes bigger than his football reputation, has a fame beyond his fame as a football player like Travis Kelce does. More a celebrity than a football player. You can lose sight of this. Travis Kelce friggin' loves playing football. He loves practicing football. He loves being at the team facility. He loves being with the guys, being in the locker room. And that's the stuff.
And he likes tutoring guys.
Yes. He loves everything about
mentoring.
Everything about it he loves. And there are a lot of players who say, the only thing I miss about it is the part of, being with the guys, being in the locker room, hanging out with the guys, but they don't miss the physical rigors of it. Travis Kelce loves every inch of playing football. He really, really does. And for the things in his life and the decisions that he made that almost took football away from him, he's never been the kind of guy to take an opportunity to play for granted. So it makes sense that there is a part of his brain that's telling him, hey, if you can play, you should still play. If you physically can go out and play. And look, we saw from the numbers this season, Travis Kelce athletically diminished 100%. He is not the same player he was 5 years ago, 7 years ago. That is all true. Can he still contribute to a winning effort in a certain role? Yes, I think he could. I think if he wanted to play, he could contribute to the Chiefs next year.
But when he wants to play, that's accepting potentially a lower role.
It could be. That's part of the equation. Also a part of the equation, it sounds great in your head. Yeah, I can get my body ready to go. And then you remember what it means to get your body ready to go. You remember, oh man, I actually have to do all this stuff. Yeah, I'm thinking about it fondly. I'm remembering it fondly. I like being around the guys and I enjoy that aspect of it. But it's also really, really hard. It's really hard. And so we'll see. I like I said, him saying what he said on the podcast is the first time I've entertained the idea that, hey, maybe he is thinking a little more seriously about coming back. I thought that he knew all along this was going to be his last year, but maybe he didn't think he would contribute as much as he did. Maybe he did not think that he had as much in the tank as he did. And I'm sure there is a desire, if that Super Bowl loss was an I ain't going out like that moment, what's a 6-11 season and a 6-game losing streak and catching your last NFL pass from Shane Buechele? I'm a little more, I was probably 95% certain he retires. I'm now at about 75.
I mean, going into today, I would say I was at 68. I was at 68 to 70%. And I'm now down to 59.
That's very specific. 59%.
60, 59, 60, like somewhere in there. Like I've dropped almost 10% thinking he's coming back.
The question from the text line, question from 785, what would the contract look like if he came back? Like, that's why he has to make a decision, because then the Chiefs have to figure out, okay, well, how are we going to structure this? Because he's got the void years at the end of his contract, and he's going to be essentially a free agent. I don't know. I don't know what fair value is for Travis Kelce, who, even if he were to come back next year with the understanding that, hey, we're going to back off your snap count, or, we're not going to really even feature you other than the big games and ideally the playoff run. Otherwise, you'll be a bit player. What do you pay that player? What do you pay that player if his name is Travis Kelce and he means as much to you as Travis Kelce means to the Chiefs? That's a tricky balancing act, and that's not going to be. I mean, that's why Brett Veach makes good money.
Does he come back and say, I'll give a 1-year contract for, I don't know, what did he make this past season?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I have to go look.
Because if he made $8 million this year, do you think that's what it was?
No, it was more than that.
12 million?
It was, I'll tell you exactly here in just a second. It was a $4.5 million base salary and a $12.5 million roster bonus. So
all right,
$17 million.
All right. Yeah, how about like $12 million total? Was you 1 year with $12 million, however you want to sort it out?
If he wants to play, you make it happen and you worry about everything else. But
I mean, I'm tending to think if he wants to play, he's past his money making years. He could take lower too.
He could. I don't think he's wanting for money, but he also, rather notably, took less money than he could have throughout his career.
Yeah.
So that's something that he's always done, and maybe, a little less inclined to do even towards the end. Anyway, that's what Travis Kelce had to say today. That's the headline from, that common source of sports headlines for this show, People Magazine. All right. Give me a headline, Spencer.
Yeah. Speaking of the Chiefs, their offensive coordinator, who is technically no longer their offensive coordinator, as his contract ran out, that'd be Matt Nagy. He is confirmed, according to multiple insiders, to be interviewing with the Titans and Raiders tomorrow and the Cardinals on Friday. It looks like tomorrow as well, Steve Spagnuolo will meet with the Titans, according to Albert Breer. So
it's Matt Nagy being one of the most in-demand coaches tells you how weak this cycle is, first and foremost. But also, again, I will reiterate this, and I pointed this out earlier in the week. Matt Nagy does not appear to be a great offensive coordinator. Certainly was not very good at what his job is this last year with the Chiefs. How many bosses have you ever had where you would take time out of your very, very busy life to go watch their kid play a high school football game? How many bosses would you have you had that you would do that for? It's not a long list, right? Yeah. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes were popping up at Tate Nagy's high school football games. Like, I think Matt Nagy must have great relationships with his players. I think he is. I think if you are looking at hiring Matt Nagy as your coach, you are not doing it because you are enamored with him as a scheme guy. You are doing it because you want him to be a relationship guy.
Kind of like a CEO of a program.
A CEO type of hire as your head coach. You think that he can have that kind of impact personally on your players, and then he's going to have to hire the right people. He's going to have to bring over the right offensive coordinator and the right defensive coordinator. But yeah, you're not hiring Matt Nagy based on
being the up and coming guy who's going to do something,
right? And which was kind of why the Bears hired him. You're hiring Matt Nagy because apparently he is a really good hang. He appears to be an outstanding hang and relates well to his players, being on the younger side of the head coaching ranks. that is the only explanation I could give you, because if you watch the Chiefs offense and you understand what Matt Nagy's responsibilities are in making sure that offense was organized and disciplined and ready to play, there's no way you want to hire that guy and put him anywhere near like Cam Ward, or if you're the Raiders, whoever you take at number one, Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, whoever. Like, it has to be strictly, we really like this guy and we think he's a great hang and we think that could make him an effective leader of our, as you kind of put it, program.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if, I mean, obviously he's getting those 2 other interviews, but I wonder if Borgonzi is just interviewing him because he knows him.
And to try and make him maybe look more desirable, do him a solid. Like, I don't know if they share agents. Like, I really don't know
or just because Borgonzi was here and Nagy was here and
right,
like his contract's coming to an end, and you know, you help each other out somehow just to get them buzz, because they were the first team to do anything, right? To request, as we saw on social media, which I don't think you need to request a guy whose contract is over, but that's probably the respect factor.
So there you have it with regards to Matt Nagy, maybe a very busy man the next couple of days. And again, I do not think he's coming back to the Chiefs, even if he does not get a head coaching job. I think they let that contract lapse for a reason. But look, by all accounts, Nagy seems to be a hail fellow well met, and that might be what gets him a head coaching job, another head coaching opportunity, even though he did not do particularly well in his first go around there in Chicago. Though, flip side, he did get team's quarterback by Mitch Trubisky to the playoffs twice. Like, that's not nothing.
Yeah.
Next headline. Let's do some more transfer portals, shall we? Both KU and K-State busy on that front, making some more transfer portal additions. Kansas landed a commitment from Syracuse's leading rusher from the 2025 season. Running back Yassine Willis joins now a group of transfer running backs who are committing to Kansas. The thing that stands out about Willis, his size, 6'1", 235. He looks like he's going to be the big body back in the backfield for Lance Leipold. Also, late last night, Michigan State transfer defensive end David Santiago announced that he is committing to Kansas, coming from the Big Ten. He will join a defensive line group at KU. K-State today, we talked a little bit about it with Tim Fitzgerald. Joshua Manning, wide receiver who was initially committed to K-State in the same class as Avery Johnson, then decided to decommit late, ended up at Mizzou. He is now matriculating to Manhattan. Fitz kind of poured a little cold water on this one when we had him on for the Wildcat Wrap-Up last hour. If you missed any of that, check out the podcast or hit rewind on the YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. But he said, he was thought of as a big deal recruit out of Lee's Summit, so a fairly local kid. But now that we've actually seen him on film in college, it doesn't feel like there's quite as much upside maybe to the commitment. But he produced in the SEC, and the hope will be that he can produce for the Wildcats to some level moving forward. Also committing within the last hour out of the transfer portal to Kansas State, a defensive lineman out of Cincinnati, Kamari Burns, pledging to Kansas State. So a couple of new additions. And we talked about this with Fitz as well, but the K-State football social media promoting this. Joe Jackson, the running back, making it official that he will be returning to Kansas State for the 2026 season. Not sure that was in much doubt, but again, in this era, it's good to have confirmation. Although even that sometimes doesn't mean what it's used to, which leads us to our next headline from the University of Washington, Spencer.
Yes, this one popped on social media last night, specifically from ESPN. Why am I forgetting his name?
Pete Thamel.
Yes, Pete Thamel, the Authority, posted last night on X that Washington quarterback Damon Williams Jr. said on social media he's entering the transfer portal. That move comes just days after he agreed to terms to the Huskies for their 2026 season. And so he got his bag. The deal was in the mid $4 million range and near the top of the market, according to Thamel. And just a couple of days later, he puts his name in the transfer portal with a non-contact tag, and Washington is threatening legal action.
So the rumor has it that it's going to be LSU. That has probably just flat out offered him a little bit more money. And Williams's statement that he made on social media last night was about doing what's best for me and my family, which is taking more money. Like, it's the money. It's always the money.
I need more money.
It's never not the money in this situation. Pete Thamel tweeted this earlier today, or posted this on the platform formerly known as Twitter, now X. Two key items in Damon Williams' signed Washington contract as he attempts to enter the portal and transfer. Number one, the buyout in the contract reads, the cost of the buyout is in the sole discretion of Washington. So they get to decide how much the buyout is, whether it's substantial or like.
Well, the real question is, did he get money upon did he get the money right then?
Number two, the contract specifically states that the institution is not obligated to enter the student athlete into the transfer portal or otherwise assist or facilitate the student athlete's transfer to another college or university. I suspect if the NIL contract gets taken to court, a lot of it's not going to hold up, because the NCAA has tried to enforce the idea that these athletes are not employees. If these athletes were employees and could be bound by an employment contract, then we're probably having a different conversation. But that's the last hurdle between what we have now and a little bit more sanity and a little bit more understanding to how college athletes pick schools and sign NIL deals, and how long perhaps they stay with their respective schools. It's collective bargaining. It's treating these athletes as employees. Until we get there, we're never going to have the sanity or the guardrails that every coach in America likes to get in front of a microphone and talk about. We got to get some guardrails on this thing. Well, they're there. They're there. Treat the kids as employees. Those are the guardrails. Until you get there, you cannot solve this problem. Until you get to a point where collective bargaining enters the equation, you will not solve this problem. And is that a great solution? Do you feel any better about college sports with the athletes as employees? Maybe you as a fan feel worse. And I'm not going to tell you you're wrong necessarily to feel that way. But that is the way to stop stuff like this from happening. For a player to sign on the dotted line and then 48 hours later say, well, actually, I got a better offer somewhere else, so I'm leaving. Do something about it. I dare you. And that's essentially what we have here, is we have a standoff between Damon Williams and Washington. We'll see how that ends up, and we'll see what that leads to. My prediction, nowhere good. It's not going to lead anywhere good. A couple of other college football quarterback notes as we wind down these 580 Sports Talk headlines. A couple of transfer portal commitments to Big Ten schools. Nebraska, who got spurned by Notre Dame transfer Kenny Minchie a couple of days ago. He pulled his commitment from Nebraska, ended up at Kentucky. Nebraska's got themselves a quirked up white boy, Anthony Colandrea, former Virginia and UNLV quarterback. He was Mountain West Conference Player of the Year this last season. I think that's a good get for Nebraska. He won't be boring. I'm going to tell you this about Anthony Colandrea. I've watched him play. He ain't boring. Northwestern getting a commitment from former Michigan State quarterback, also former Oregon State quarterback, Aiden Childs. You caught who Northwestern's new offensive coordinator is, didn't you? Have you not seen this?
No.
Oh, I'm so delighted to tell you this. In case you're listening and you don't know who Northwestern's new offensive coordinator is, it's Chip Kelly.
What?
Yeah.
The fall from grace.
Chip Kelly is the offensive coordinator at Northwestern. And Aiden Childs is the kind of quarterback who should thrive in a Chip Kelly offense. So
yeah.
I think that's a really interesting gift for Northwestern. One quarterback who is not transferring, but instead will be turning pro, Alabama's Ty Simpson today, announcing that he will declare for the NFL draft. Mel Kiper has him third on the list of quarterback prospects in the class of 2026, behind Indiana's Fernando Mendoza and Oregon's Dante Moore. I'll say this for Ty Simpson. There have been moments where I've watched him play and thought, oh, yeah, I see it. There's some athleticism. The ball jumps out of his hand. But then you actually look at the track record, and he played great against teams that weren't good, and he played poorly against teams that were. So if you like the tools, maybe he's probably a day 2 prospect. I don't think there are going to be a lot of first-round quarterbacks this year. I think it's probably just Mendoza and Moore, and that's if Moore declares. But Simpson probably a day 2 guy for somebody. Is a day 2 flyer for somebody. I like the arm, but the track record, the actual like watch the games side of the argument, it doesn't paint him in a real great picture.
No.
That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. When we come back, we'll play a round of One Gotta Go here on 580 Sports Talk. It's One Gotta Go time on 580 Sports Talk. I'll start today. I've got the top 4 seeds in the NFL playoffs, the 1 and the 2 in both conferences. And we're talking about the home field advantages for those 4 teams. I'm talking stadium atmosphere. I'm talking weather. I'm talking history. I'm talking location, noise, all that stuff. Obviously, in the NFC, that's Lumen Field in Seattle, Soldier Field in Chicago. In the AFC, that's Empower Field at Mile High. Yuck. My body rejected that. Mile High Stadium in Denver and Gillette Stadium in Foxborough for the New England Patriots. One of those home field advantages has to go. The least imposing of those home field advantages, in your opinion?
The least imposing, Soldier Field.
A quick answer. Why Soldier Field?
I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people don't like Soldier Field.
So the way I'm thinking about it, you might be thinking about this differently from me. I'm thinking about like the toughest places to win. What do you think is the home field that will be the most easy to go win at?
Well, I mean,
the one you're least concerned about if your team has to go play there in January.
I feel like I wouldn't want to go to Lumen Field for 100%. That might be the number one place I wouldn't want to go.
They have restored the feeling. There were a couple of years there where in Mike McDonald's first year, I think they went like 3-6, or no, not 3-6, like 3-5.
But a playoff game, like,
but
they'll bring it.
They brought the feeling back this year. They were much better, at a much better home record, And yeah,
like I remember as a
playoffs.
Washington fan,
Mm-hmm.
like of all the years they had matchups where they'd be on the road in Seattle, I chalked it up as a loss.
I do
before
not
the game
think, and I'm thinking out loud, but I do not believe they have lost a playoff game in that building.
Yeah,
I do not believe they have.
So that was the reverse one. So it's got to be between Soldier Field and who's this? To me, it's Soldier Field because I think New England has had playoff success, so now they're really hungry for it, and it's going to be hard to go in there and play. Mile High, I feel like it's a playoff game. It's going to get rowdy. I mean, it's led like Mile High, the original Mile High, legendary field for playoffs. To me, I just feel like it's the team that is so inconsistent. Not necessarily inconsistent, like there's not used to in this generation being in the playoffs. So, how are they going to pack out and make it that way? Whereas, like, I know it doesn't sound right to you as a person that knows it, but as me as an outsider, no matter what Mile High you're at, to me that sounds like a challenge to play just in general a mile high from just the altitude.
Yeah,
itself.
the altitude is a real factor. It's a real thing.
That takes it out as me as being gone. And I think the Patriots, they've had so much playoff success that they're hungry. Their fans are ready to come back. And Seattle has had a lot of playoff success in the first couple of rounds, at least at home, right?
Yeah. No, they're 10. I looked it up. They are actually 10-2.
Okay.
At Lumen Field all time. Both losses to the Rams, incidentally, 2004 and 2020.
To me, it's Soldier Field.
My answer is Gillette Stadium because every other one of those stadiums has something about it. Like you have the altitude in Denver, you have the noise in Seattle, and then you have that lake effect,
I guess,
fair weather potential in Chicago. Like, obviously, there's the inclement weather potential in New England, and they've had a historically great record there, but they had a historically great record there with the best quarterback ever and maybe the best coach ever.
Yeah.
So how much of that was just them? So, yeah, to me, it's Gillette Stadium, the least imposing of the home field advantages of the top four seeds. What do you got for one guy to go today?
It's going to be a little food related. I got a big old box out there at my desk ready to come home with me tonight from Omaha Steaks.
Oh, all right.
Now, a lot of variety in there. If you could only eat, or if this, you'd no longer be able to eat this one kind of meat, what would it be between steak, chicken, pork, or ground beef?
Steak, chicken, pork, and ground beef.
One's never going to exist ever again.
I can't eat the other one ever again. You understand how cruel this is, right? So here's why I'm going to say steak. The utility of steak is it's steak, right? Like you are eating a steak. You are eating, there's lots of different cuts of steak, certainly, but you are eating it as a steak. You maybe a little bit of marinade. You cook it on the grill. You maybe get a little sear to it. I get my medium rare. How do you get yours?
About medium rare. Yeah.
Medium rare. Okay. Yeah. My wife's a little more medium well. That's fine with me. I don't have a problem with that. I'm a medium rare steak guy. But steak is steak. The versatility of pork and ground beef and chicken to me would mean I'm missing out on so many different kinds of meals in their absence.
That's a good point.
Now, if you made me get rid of one of those three, that's a tougher call. Because if I get rid of pork, I can't have barbecue ever again. That's not nice. But if I get rid of chicken, I can't go to Popeyes ever again. And that's not nice.
Or Raising Cane's.
I can't go to, Raising Cane's when they open for real. That would have been my last Raising Cane's today if I had to make that choice. But like ground beef, burgers.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Spaghetti, like the meatballs.
Yeah, I would almost have to say pork, even if that meant I could never eat barbecue again, because chicken and ground beef are just, again, so prevalent everywhere.
Yes.
But God, I would cry. Honest to God, if you told me I couldn't eat barbecue anymore ever again, I would cry. I would cry real, like fat, like no Sean Moreno during the national anthem, fat tears. I would cry. I would be so sad. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, K-State Hoops on the air tonight. We'll talk about what a competitive game. I'm not even going to say a win. They're 17.5-point dogs against number one in the country. What would a competitive K-State effort look like tonight against the Arizona Wildcats? That's next on 580 Sports Talk. You like this one? You like who is that? Is Real Big Fish? Is Spencer dancing in the video?
I'm just ready to go home and open my box of meat.
Careful.
We had to clean out the freezer last night because, we had a lot more stuff's going in there.
Okay.
And we also don't have an ice maker.
Oh, that's tough.
So we're trying to figure out how all this meat's going to fit in there with a big bag of ice that we buy at Dillon's every week and a half.
Get one of those trays. Get a couple of trays. Stack them up. They're pretty
non-invasive. We're very ice people. We use a ton of ice.
Okay.
Like we use a big bag a week and a half.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, our ice maker always gets overflowed. Anyway, I'm totally derailed now. You were dancing and because you're excited about steak, and I love that for you. I sincerely, you make any of it tonight?
No, we're having tacos tonight.
I have no idea what my wife
but
for dinner tonight.
I'm just excited because that means I don't have to. This was a gift card to Omaha Steaks.
Okay, cool.
So I'm just excited for the time being. I don't have to spend money on meat.
Yeah, that is always nice.
That's the excitement.
So I had a meat guy in when I lived in Colby, Kansas. When I was working out there in Northwest Kansas, I had a meat guy. We had our salesperson, Paul Heskett. He is a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. He is a KAB Hall of Famer, Paul Heskett. And one of one. To know Paul Heskett is to know a very singular personality. And Paul had the hookup with I think it was Grinnell Meat out there in Northwest Kansas, a couple of butchers and everything. And so when I moved out there, and I was moving out there alone, I had not yet. Yeah. I was not single. I was seeing my now wife, but we weren't engaged. She wasn't moving out with me, so it was just me living out there. And Paul inquired if I might be interested in having some ground beef to cook. I said, yeah, absolutely. So every 2 months, he'd leave a garbage bag full of those chubs, 1 pound ground beef chubs, some steak, some pork chops for me. And I couldn't cook it fast enough. I had unlimited ground beef. Paul Heskett, KAB Hall of Famer, my meat guy for a solid 2 years when I lived in Colby, Kansas. I don't know what I would have done without him. Man,
shout out Dan's meat dealer from
burgers,
Colby, Kansas.
Tacos. Man, Paul's the best. And if you know that name, he's the best. But yeah, Paul Heskett, he's a legend. He was my meat guy when I lived in Colby, Kansas. Anyway, Kansas State basketball tonight. There's no good segue. No. I tried to come up with one on the fly. There just isn't. K-State's at Arizona tonight, following up a meeting with the then number 10 team in the country to open Big 12 play with a game at the number 1 team in the country. Line opened at minus 20.5 in favor of the Arizona Wildcats. It's now minus 17.5. This is not a game that I expect Kansas State to win. If they're going to be competitive tonight, and this is the thing I think they just have to do in general. We talked about it with Tim Fitzgerald in the 4 o'clock hour. Kansas State's best offensive lineups are small and have trouble guarding. And Kansas State's best defensive lineups are big, but K-State's bigs don't offer you a whole lot of offensive dimensions. Taj Manning isn't going to do a lot of scoring for you. Moby Ikegaruka is not going to do a lot of scoring for you. Doreen Buka and Kamari McGriff can score around the rim, but they can't score much further than 5 feet away from the basket. Yeah. So you're limited offensively when you play a really good defensive lineup. I think you've got to lean into something tonight. Either you stay with your defensive lineup and see if you just can't outwork Arizona and maybe catch them off guard and beat them on the glass and limit their second chance opportunities in a way that they weren't able to do against BYU because you just commit to being big and energy and rebounding and then let your guards carry the weight on offense. Either lean into that or lean into, hey, we're just going to play forward guards and we're going to bombs away. We're going to shoot 35 threes. Haggerty's going to get to the rim. He's going to get downhill, going to get to the free throw line. We're going to try to beat you to 95 tonight. I would just say pick one because I don't think you can do half and half, or you can meet the game at a certain level because while you're trying to figure out what you need to do, Arizona will boat race you. Yeah. I think the trick for Kansas State tonight, what I would like to see is pick a lane. Either you try and outscore them or you try and out effort them, but you it's hard to find lineups that let you do both. Or maybe you light on a lineup tonight. You strike upon a lineup tonight that lets you do both for a stretch. But that's the only chance I think Kansas State has. Pick a lane. Either try and outscore Arizona or try and out-hustle Arizona. It is not likely you will do either thing. But give one of them a shot is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
7 o'clock pregame, 8 o'clock tip. You can catch it right here, 580 WIBW FM 104.9 on the K-State Sports Network. We'll take a timeout, come back, and wrap up the show with the final word on 580 Sports Talk. Final word on 580 Sports Talk today. Spencer Dupuis, give me what you got.
Man, the fog was jumping last night. Kansas coming back from a 1% chance to win down as much as they were. And the biggest story of the game is Darryn Peterson, unfortunately, came out multiple times, had stuff around his legs. They did the old 2 cam, had the court cam, and then the Darryn Peterson on the bench cam. But I got to say one thing. He's taking a lot of heat on social media, even from some people in the media. And, man, if you think DP doesn't want to be out there, you don't know, man. Like, you don't. This, as much as it hurts the fans to not see him out there, I can only imagine what's in this guy's head right now. He just wants to figure out what's going on, and he wants to be on the court as much as possible and help his team win.
Yeah, and that's what Sam Vecini of The Athletic wrote earlier today, is that NBA officials, people with NBA organizations, are not under the impression that Peterson is sitting out or slow playing his college career to make sure that he doesn't get hurt, to protect his NBA stock. That's not part of it. That what he wants to do is play basketball, and he wants to be out there for his guys. And you see when he's out there, he's really good. And we started to see just a glimpse of some of the ability to get to the basket. That's really what makes Peterson special. He's a good mid-range scorer. He's a good long-distance shooter. He can make plays with the ball, but what really makes him special is his ability to slash and get to the rim and get to the free throw line. And we've only seen that in bits and pieces, but we got to see that some last night. Hopefully we get to see more of it. Hopefully he can finally shake what's been dogging him, and we can see more of that version of Darryn Peterson, because it's special and it's thrilling to watch. Kansas can be thrilled with the comeback win, but they got to get physically tough to match their mental toughness. I think they're a very mentally tough team. They proved that last night, but they got to get a lot more physically tough on defense and on the glass. They want to accomplish being a real Big 12 contender. That'll be that for 580 Sports Talk today. K-State Hoops at 7 o'clock. We're back tomorrow from 3 to 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. Have a good night.